Hello, Craig.
It's all on you, it's all on me. Can't you see? It's all on you, it's all on me. You and me, can't you? It's all on you, it's all on me.
Hey, Craig. Right or wrong, we don't care. Win or lose, we don't care. We don't care. We don't care.
Hey Jeff,
Howdy.
what a week for Cougar sports again.
Yeah.
And it's another great fucking week with huge fucking wins, and this time, and you know what I have not done since we've come back is I gotta say, hi everyone, this is Podcast versus Everyone, episode 197.
We are professionals.
My name is Craig Powers, and with me, as usual, is Jeff Nusser.
Hi.
Jeff, yeah, we usually start with football or basketball, men's basketball.
Not this week.
But not this week. The WSU volleyball team had about as good a week as any program has ever had. At WSU, going down to Texas and playing number 18 Baylor and number 6 Texas, who also happens to be the defending NCAA champions, and beating them both in 4 sets and over the span of 3 nights. Just an incredible feat, and that's on the back of beating number 8 BYU at home. So you're looking at 3 consecutive Big 12 wins. And as Pat Chun tweeted, we won the Big 12. Now it's trying to move on to the Pac-12 play. But what a week! And now that has them ranked 7th, which is the best ranking since, as Jen said herself on Twitter, because she was on the team. Is since 1996 when they ranked number 5, and I believe that's the year they went to the Elite 8 with Sarah Silvernail. So this is one of the best volleyball teams right now, and we knew they were going to be good, but wow, just to come out and get wins like this over back to back to back, like it's just amazing. Like it's just so fucking cool.
It is, and it's like it's fairly remarkable that all of this is sort of happening, in this moment, right? Which we'll talk about. It's going to be an inevitable part of the conversation when we start talking about Oregon State, but it's especially poignant right now. I was listening to Pat Chun on, he was on the Canzano and Wilner podcast, and I was listening to it this morning, and he mentioned that we are one of 3 schools in the nation who are ranked in football, volleyball, and soccer, women's soccer. So that's a pretty significant, endorsement of where our, athletic programs are. And, we've been singing the praises of Jen Greeny, for years. I mean, what she has done, what she has built here. I mean, she I'm going to assume she would be successful anywhere that she would be, but the fact that she's a Coug, gets what it means to be a Coug, and also her husband, who's, a Coug and, former baseball player himself here, they understand it. So I kind of like to think that that's part of the secret sauce with them, in terms of, identifying players, bringing in recruits, finding people who are good fits, for Washington State University, because it really is, a special place with a special attitude, a special culture, all of those things. And, she has captured something here that, like you mentioned, hasn't been done since her coach, Cindy Frederick, was here. And that was when I was in school. So Jen and I we might not be exactly the same age, but we're pretty close, if not exactly the same. And so
I think she was a freshman at WSU in '95.
Yeah, that's when I was a freshman. So
Yeah.
that's so we might be exactly the same age, which of course makes me feel so old all the time. But it's, you know, they had something special going at that time. Sarah Silvernail, of course, was a huge star, right? Like, I mean, she was, you know, big hitter. She was on the, you know, the national stage in terms of, you know, Team USA, things like that. And then, you know, and they were very good for that time, but you know, now it's kind of like, man, you look at this team and they just seem to have kind of stars everywhere. And I remember saying to you, and I may have mentioned this on the podcast, but like when the preseason volleyball ranking came out and they were picked second in the Pac-12, I was sort of like, wait, what? Like I was taken aback, you know, cause I hadn't followed them that close. And then you were like, well, they have like everyone back, you know, from a team, that was really, really good. And they are, you know, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. It's obviously working right now. They are doing things that, you know, I mean, they appear to be able to line up toe to toe with anybody in the nation and not just hold their own, but win. It's not I mean, you sent this to me and you were like, we have a national championship contender. And I'm like, I don't think that's an exaggeration right now.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're beating national champions, like when you're beating top 10 teams
at their
on the
place.
road and in 4 sets and really shutting them down on the attack, like just the defense of this team with led by Magda is just, and she won Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week, is incredible. Like it's they're holding teams under 200 hitting percentages, which is, you can kind of as I've been told, you can kind of ascribe that to baseball batting averages. So like they're making it really hard for teams to win on the attack. So that the teams, the only way they could beat, the only way Texas jumped out on them, the only way BYU jumped out on them in these first sets was through service. So either WSU was service errors or Texas was landing a lot of aces. And that's the only way that teams are able to, consistently score on WSU. And then not to mention their own attack is very good. It's so impressive to watch. It's fun to watch. They just make life so difficult for other teams, and it's just really cool. And yeah, like they're a national title. Like after I tweeted that after they beat Texas, like this is a national title. We like legit have a national title contending team, like in our last year of relevance, apparently. Last year of Power 5.
And not like a plucky. This is not a plucky contender, right?
They're a powerhouse. Like this is not our
soccer team going. Yeah, like this is not our soccer team going to the College Cup on a Cinderella run, which, I mean, we knew they had been good, but like, they have always struggled at times to keep up with, the really talented athletic teams in the Pac-12. And that may change this year, but this volleyball team, they are I'm not sure we've seen anything like this since like the 97 football team. Like, I think maybe that's the best analog to what's happening right now, where they are just like they literally can go toe to toe with anyone. That 97 football team that went to the 98 Rose Bowl, same deal. They had tons of experience. They all sort of gelled. They had lots and lots and lots of seniors. And obviously the COVID development changed the equation just a little bit for a school like Wazoo, but they have some super seniors, right? But this is a lot like that. It's just you keep them around, you develop them, and they gel at just the right time, and they're able to, really, really, truly go toe to toe with anybody. I mean, anybody who was around in 97 who watched that team knows, I mean, they were not overwhelmed athletically really by anybody. Maybe a couple of positions like wide receiver, cornerback matchups in the Rose Bowl were tough with Michigan, but But the other, like, it wasn't like they were completely outgunned, you know. We had a freaking Heisman Trophy finalist quarterback, like, you know, number 2 draft pick, right? Like, so anyway, this is, to me, reminds me of that. And I don't think we should be afraid to dream big with this team. And I think we should, I think fans out there should get on board as their time allows with, you know, following the team, because a lot of their matches are available. All their matches are available somewhere, whether that's, you know, streaming on the school website or Pac-12 networks, but, you know, they're around, and it's definitely, they are exciting. They are fun. The funny thing is, one of the matches I actually tried to watch was the Texas match, and I couldn't, because apparently I found out I do not get Longhorn Network. It's like, crap. Like, I have every ESPN subscription. I have the ESPN Plus. I've got all, and apparently that does not include, my YouTube TV subscription did not include Longhorn Network. So I didn't get to watch that, but yeah, I'm trying to catch as many as I can.
Yeah, and I, you know, a big part of the offense too has been sorry if I mispronounce her name, but Argentina Ung. Like, she's risen as, you know, the lead setter starting last year, but she's you know, 6 foot, and she finishes plays herself at times. She can kill. She can kill on her own at times, and she's just so talented. I've watching them play against BYU. I saw her just save, like, make something out of nothing to set up an attack. Like, she's so talented. And then you have, of course, Pia, who is so versatile and can play everywhere and do anything. And among so many players, and it's just they're so fun to watch, and they're obviously well coached, and they're just they're just so confident right now, and they have so many goddamn senior. Like, you look at their roster, like, Jen's got some recruiting to do, because it's always happens, yes. But like, it's even worse now. They have a fifth year senior, they have fifth year senior, graduate, senior. Fifth year senior, junior, fifth year senior, senior, freshman, fifth year, redshirt senior, senior, freshman, redshirt junior, graduate. Yep. That's the roster. You got 2 freshmen. The rest are in their 3rd, 4th, 5th years. Like, like it's they are. I mean, and they look it too. They look like adults. Like, they're adults when they're on that. When they're playing, and they're playing like, and it's so cool. Like, to a team that's ranked, you know. To have a team this year ranked 7th, like, and like you said, with all that's going on, and the way that the finally, and I know Jen always hopes for more of this, more promotion of their team, but they're finally, you know, the WSU comms is really stepping up to just the constant middle finger of, like, like today they released a video and said, like, if you disrespect us at your own risk, and like, it just shows, you know, mention that, you know, the 3 teams ranked, and you know it finished with volleyball ranked number 7, and just to, you know, it's always something to pay attention to when there's a top 10 team at Wazoo, because it just doesn't happen very often. Like, you know, we had the football team finish at number 10 a few years back. I think the volleyball team got it in the top 10 in like 2016. The basketball team hasn't been in the top 10 since 2008. You know, I don't know if the soccer team's ever gotten in it. I don't think they have, unless they may have had a final poll. Well, you know, obviously they got to the final 4.
I don't
so
think
kind of call it that. But I don't. They've never been in season a top 10 team, I don't think. And those are like the programs that would typically do this. You know, baseball hasn't been that, you know, even close to that in a long time. They've been like ranked for, you know, on the periphery a few times, but like, it's just like, and it's just that they're every bit of a top 10 team, and this is not fluky. They're not like watching. They're taking out teams in front of them. Like they're 7, and then Texas and BYU are 9 and 10. Like, so And the only team they've lost.
It's not like they're just waiting around and people are losing, and so they keep moving up. Like they are assassinating people.
Yeah, the only team they've lost to is Louisville. I think is second or third right now. So
they were fourth when we lost to them.
Yeah, and so they're just they're on a roll, and it would be really cool this weekend they start conference play, the last Pac-12 season, with those fuckers from Seattle, and it just, last time they played them, they obliterated them in 3 sets, and I'd love to see them do that again to start off this weekend. That's on Thursday night for anyone that's, tailgaters, people bringing in their RVs, head on over to Baylor and pack that place out.
Sure.
The new floor is beautiful. The new student section is really cool. It just creates, it's such a cool atmosphere now. It feels like the students are kind of like more on top of the play, and it's really fun. And if you're, and I'm sure there'll be tickets because it's Thursday night. I hope people that are coming into town with their RVs on Thursday are once they get parked, once they get set up, head over to Bowler, because man, this is a really special team. I'm really glad I've gotten to see them play live this year, and hopefully I'll get to again. But like, it's just I'm so excited to see what they can do. They were picked second in the conference, and we're like, wow. Like, that's how many WSU teams ever get picked second. like that just rarely happens.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, even the year that I was referencing in football in '90s, and they were not picked second. They missed out on a bowl game the year before, and they were picked, I don't know, 6th or 7th or something. Like, it was, I can't remember now. It was a long time ago, but it definitely was not second. So that does not happen very often.
Again, I think to go back to a team that got picked that highly again, I think soccer's been picked like 4th a few times. But
I think in basketball,
Tony Bennett,
the Bennett team,
his second team was 3rd or 2nd. It was around there.
It was maybe 3rd. But they
finished
just had
2nd year before, and then
they had such insane competition in the conference at that time between UCLA and Stanford. I think they may have been picked 3rd that year. Not positive, but the point stands that this is so super rare. It's just super duper rare. And it should be enjoyed. It should be savored. It should be celebrated. Jen Greeny and her team deserve all of that. And I wish I was going to be in Pullman this weekend to be able to get there on Thursday to go to the game, because I would love to scream my face off. Because it really does feel, all of this does have the feel of a revenge tour. Like, I know we sort of make jokes out of it, but I don't think it's a joke. Like, if you watch these teams play, the vibes are very much like, we are here to fuck people up.
Well, because the players are taking it personal. Like, you're telling me that I am not a major conference, not a Power 5, Power 6 player anymore. You're telling I came to Wazoo to be a major conference player, and now you're telling me that I'm not, and that you can see it, you can hear it in the interviews. Like, the players are like, fuck off. Like, we'll beat your ass and we'll show you that we're major conference players. Like, and we talked about, man, I hope someone could do a revenge tour. And honestly, there's several teams now looking like they can do that. Soccer's looking really good. Volleyball, obviously, like, volleyball could fucking win the conference, like the way they've been playing. There's good teams, but like, who's got the damn resume across the country that they have? Like, it's going on the road and beating the national champions. Like, it's just like, and I love it. The athletic department and their communications is definitely keeping that sentiment going. And you know what? Like, let's all keep that sentiment going. Like, you know what? Like, it maybe except for the football game this weekend is the one time we're going to be like, feel some camaraderie, some commiseration, but everyone else,
that definitely
fuck off.
Be some conflicting feelings there. I just love that, like, it's funny, you know, obviously we are called Podcast versus Everyone. Craig came up with the name, whatever it was, like 5 years ago now, right? Like it was
Yeah.
a lot of years ago at this point, because Cougars versus everybody had been, you know, it'd been kind of a thing, right? Cougs versus everybody. And it's like, let's riff on that. We'll riff on that for the podcast name, which is great. But like they have it, like it's become a thing now, right? Like it is, and these things, like you can sort of manufacture these things, but for them to really, to really stick, they've got to take on some kind of organic life of their own. And that's kind of what's happened. Honestly, this feels like you see things that are inflection points. You're like, oh, that's good. That's going to stick. This is one of those things that feels like, you know, when you and I are on our deathbeds at, you know, hopefully at like a ripe old age, it's still going to be Cougs versus everybody. You know, this feels like a rallying cry now that's going to stick around. Reminds me of like when the first time they did Back Home. And it was like, oh, that's good. That's really, really good. You know, this kind of feels like that. Like it was like, yeah, Cougs versus everybody. Now it feels like, fuck you, Cougs versus everybody. We'll fuck you all up. You know, it's just like, that's how it feels now.
And to have a Jen leading, like who is a Coug and has always had that mentality.
Yep.
You know, like she's always had that Cougar, like the mentality of a Coug. And always had that Cougs versus everyone. I know that even like she's been fighting for resources and fighting to get recognized by the university herself. And I, you know, that there was unfortunately, you know, there wasn't a photographer from WSU there to take pictures, and that was a AD decision this week. And so hopefully, you know, all the other trips, WSU will make sure that they have people there to document what happens with this team, because it's very special. And just like it's so fun. Like, you know, we talked about, you know, against BYU when they won, and Jen is jumping around with all the, you know, the athletes, the athletes that were watching, the students that rushed onto the floor after they won. Like she's in it with all of us. She has the same exact feeling about this as all of us, more than any of the other coaches can even understand. And to have her at the helm of this fucking program right now and killing it in this season is pretty special. And I just hope they can keep it going, and I expect them to, because they're a fucking juggernaut.
Yeah, it's extremely fun. And like you put, like it couldn't happen to a more invested family between both her and Burdette. Like, yeah, you love seeing one of us, you know, make it.
Yeah.
So.
It's shout out to Burdette for putting the schedule together.
Yeah.
Like,
right?
Holy shit. They tested themselves, and they're 10-1.
Yes, they did. Yeah, they did.
Like they had a run, and those 3 in a row, to have those 3 back to back, and to go on that road trip. Yes. That'll be as tough as any conference road trip you have.
Like, let's go to Texas, let's play Baylor, and let's play Texas. And yeah, that's like, I mean, like you said, it'll be as tough as, I don't know if there's a road trip in the Pac-12 that's that tough.
But now, because they did this, they're setting themselves up to host NCAA tournament games.
Yeah.
And that's huge. Like they have the resume to do that now. If they, you know, if they go through conference play how they normally do, they're absolutely going to be a top 4 seed. They could be a top 2, number 1 seed, any of this. They're definitely setting themselves up to host NCAA tournament games, which will be huge for Pullman, huge for Wazoo, especially in this year again. And, you know, coming, you know, and then leading into, like, you know, we got a women's basketball team that also could be that good. You know, like it's, and we you know, who knows, like even the soccer team could be good enough to they've hosted NCAA tournaments. So like to be hosting NCAA tournament games, very strong possibility of this, and in volleyball, and possibilities of it in other sports in a year where we're being told that we don't belong, like is fucking great. And you know, just we're just gonna keep saying it again, but just thank you to the volleyball program, to Jen and Burdette and all the players, like for just providing with us with this joy right now, because it has been so fucking awesome in a hard time, and it rules. And that's why we led with fucking volleyball today, because they just like they fucking we probably should have been leading with them all season. Honestly, like they've just been killing it, and it's so great. Like and I hope all of you. I'm sure most of you that listen to us probably follow the volleyball team too, because we talk about it every week. But I hope if you're not, start paying attention. They're right in a conference play now, so they're going to have a ton of great matchups, and they're playing UW. And I know as Cougs, we all love watching a team crush UW, and this is a team that could absolutely crush UW on Thursday. And they're definitely going to have that Cougs versus everybody mindset, and everybody, especially UW. Like, especially UW,
Yes.
as usual.
Especially.
Like, even more so this year. But yeah, so yeah, I'm so hyped for this. I know you are too, Jeff. But yeah.
Are you, by the way, are you making it over on Thursday night?
No.
Okay. All right.
Emma and I are driving over. We are going to make it over for the soccer game on Friday, but
And that's against Stanford.
Yeah. Yeah. Only so many days you can be away from your children.
I mean, I guess like if you're trying to be a good dad or something,
I don't know, I guess good husband, all that stuff.
That too.
Yeah.
That too. By the way, do you realize? Hold on, I'm looking at volleyball's schedule. Okay, so outside of getting swept by Louisville, which was the second game of the season. Outside of getting swept by Louisville, they have dropped 4 games.
4 sets.
That's it. Or 4 sets. Sorry, that's right. Volleyball. Sorry. 4 sets. That's it. Yeah. No, wait. 4. Or is it 3? Hold on. Is it 3 or 4?
It's 4. It's 4.
It's 4. Yeah. They've dropped 3 sets in against BYU, Baylor, and Texas. They dropped 3 sets combined. Total. Oh my God.
And they were all the funny thing is it was the first set every time.
Yeah. Yep. Came out slow. First set, and then just sort of ran from. It's incredible. Like, it's so fucking incredible. I love it. I want to hug Jen Greeny. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to hug Jen Greeny and be like, you fucking rule. And yeah, that's what I want to do. So.
Yes. If I see Jen Greeny around this weekend and she's having a drink, that drink will be on me. 100%.
Yeah.
And
also, I'll be sure to tell her I want to hug her and tell her she fucking rules. Definitely do that.
Yeah, I will do that.
All right. Yeah. So Washington, by the way, if anybody wants to watch it, that game is on Pac-12 Network. So 7:00 Thursday night against UW. Pac-12 Networks. Looks like it's on the big Pac-12 networks, I think.
And probably also on Washington. When it says
so probably both of those.
Yeah. When it says networks, it usually means they're simulcasting.
Right. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because the following week it's Pac-12 Arizona, and then against Oregon it's on Pac-12 Insider, which I only know about because that's a free channel on my Samsung TV.
Yeah, and that also means you can watch it. They just like stream it. They stream it when it's on. It's weird. The Oregon State one is they're not even being streamed, which
that appears to not be anywhere. Which what the fuck you doing, Oregon State?
Yeah, but come on.
The rest of them all appear to be streaming somewhere. So, or broadcast, one or the other. So that's good. It's good. All right.
And the eve of the Apple Cup is also the volleyball Apple Cup. Again, like as it was last year, and is in Seattle. So that could, that could be a fun, those of you that going to the football Apple Cup, check out, invade Hecked for the volleyball Apple Cup as well.
I'd rather go to the volleyball Apple Cup.
Absolutely.
I think Craig, we're gonna do that.
Yeah, I think we are.
I think I'm gonna bring the whole family.
Got the day off. Well, actually, I might not. It's my wife's birthday. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe if she wants to go watch volleyball.
Yeah, let's get everybody together. We'll take my whole family. We'll get Corey and Marnie and their family. We'll get Adam and Janae. We'll all go up there. We'll get the Logans. We'll just get like 20 seats together, and we'll just.
If we're getting the Logans, we're gonna need like 40 seats.
Okay, we'll need like 40 seats. We'll need like 40 seats. and then we'll go up there and be obnoxious. So
Yeah,
because we're good at that. We are good at
absolutely.
being obnoxious.
We're very good at being obnoxious.
Yes.
Love to throw the dubs down.
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah, volleyball. Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I guess we could move on to the football team who scored 9 consecutive touchdowns on Saturday.
and still did not
couldn't
drop 70. God damn it. So
Fucking
like we
5 yards away from the
you and I, so we went up to the Mariners on Saturday night. So I actually watched like none of this game other than about 5 minutes while I was pumping gas. Like that was it. I listened to it. I was gonna watch it and then I just never got a chance to watch the replay. But like we were definitely on drop 70 watch, and it seemed like it was inevitable that it was coming, and then God damn it, Emmett Brown, all 5'10" of him, had to get a ball batted up in the air and it had to get picked off at the 5-yard line to thwart any dreams we had of finally dropping 70. God damn it.
Yeah, that was like you said to me, like it just shows how freaking hard it is. You know, because they scored touchdowns on all but 2 drives.
Yep.
And it really what happened was Northern Colorado moved the ball more against, like the third string defense in the second half.
Which was really bad.
Yeah, that was, they were not having,
quite bad. Those guys are not quite ready. I don't think.
Yeah. And so that took, WSU had 7 possessions in the first half and scored touchdowns on all of them. Well, I guess they had 8, but one was a kneel down, but that's 7 real possessions. And then they only had 5 in the second half. Because it looked like, they scored to get to 64 with like 14 minutes left. And it's like, well, they're at least going to get a couple more tries. Well, they only had one real try because the last one, they were just running out the clock. They weren't really trying. And they were so close.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. People, we were in Flat Stick watching it, and we were at Flat Stick in Pioneer Square. There wasn't really a big Cougar contingent watching there. They usually, I think, watch, you mentioned South Lake Union, and then, a lot of Cougs watch at Marco Polo. But there was a couple Cougs. But the non-Cougs must have been like, why are they freaking out? Like, it's like
they had to be completely baffled by our reactions.
Like, they're up by 40 some points and these guys are like dying over an interception. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. And at that point I was
70.
At that point I was a couple of drinks deep, so I started getting a little louder, and I probably was getting some funny looks. It was, but like in all seriousness though, I mean, like, what a fucking ridiculous performance. Like, Cam Ward throws for 300 and whatever yards in one half of play.
One half.
And makes it look, basically from what I've seen from highlights, makes it look insanely easy.
Yeah. It really was. They averaged 13 with all 3 quarterbacks played. 3 different quarterbacks played. Yeah. And they threw for close to 500 yards and averaged almost 13 yards a pass.
Yeah.
With your backup and your third string playing half the game.
While we were watching the game, they put up a graphic on the scoreboard or on the broadcast that said, sort of largest margins of victory in WSU history. And one of them was a game I was in attendance for. We've already talked about the 97 team. That was one of them. They played Southeast Louisiana that year, won 77-7. So they legitimately dropped 70 that year. And like, I was at that game. This was approaching that. And I know at the time, like Southeast Louisiana was technically an FBS school. But they were like sort of the worst of the worst in FBS at that time. And it just like, this was a lot like that. It just was, man, the Cougars could do, it seems like, anything they wanted at any time they wanted. Even ran the ball a little bit, not a lot, but ran the ball a little bit. Which still still remains a little bit of a question mark, right? Like, so I don't think like maybe you can, tell me what you think on this, but like I don't. So I look at it and go, that's great. That's what you should do. That's awesome. We had fun with it. Also, I'm not sure we learned a whole lot from it. Like, I don't know that I feel super confident that, the running game issues are sorted out. Like
we learned all our freshman defensive players are not ready. Ready.
Can't tackle, apparently. Like that was the
or even be in the right place. Like there was
my God,
wide open dudes.
That is true, but the tackling was the thing that like to me was like, holy shit. Like, my God, you guys.
There could be like there may be a bit of like I breaking my arm in a 40-point blow.
Maybe. But if you're a third stringer, you're out there thinking, okay, I'm gonna fly around, I'm gonna impress somebody, So but it's whatever. Offensively, I mean, I don't know. Like, look, our identity as a school outside of a handful of years has always been offense. And when you put up 715 yards and, John Mateer comes in and just like destroys everybody.
Seven of 8 for 148 and 2 touchdowns.
138, not 148, 138. But his quarterback rating
says 100. It says 148 on the official WSU stat.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I'm looking at the stat broadcast, right? And so maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's, but anyway, his quarterback rating was 314.9. Which is pretty good, Craig. Pretty good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it just, like all of it, you put all of it together and it's like, yeah, you feel great about it. The receivers were getting separation like you'd hope. Quarterbacks just, between Cam Ward and John Mateer, both of them just, destroyed. They were combined. They were 27 of 34 for about 460 yards, 65 yards, 6 touchdowns. That's pretty good. No interceptions between them.
It was good to see.
And Mateer had 19 rushing yards. So
yeah, he had that one particular, that 3rd and 14 or whatever that he converted on the ground, broke about 2 tackles and just kind of ran into a group and
he looks some really help. Good, man.
Yeah, he looks really good. He
looks like, if we assume that I'm assuming that Cam is probably done after this year. Like, I'm assuming he's off to try and go to the NFL and do all that. So if we're assuming that, John Mateer, to me, like, I don't know if he's ready, but he certainly looks like next fall, if he steps in, we're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, he's this is like his 3rd or 4th time and where he's come in and actually led drives, and he's looked really good every time he's done it. Yep. And he seems like a guy that has it. And I gotta say, it was really cool to see, Dylan Payne get some reps and Javetsky Schlembecker get some reps.
Yep.
And really impressive reps, both of them. Obviously, Payne had a 50-yard run and he had a touchdown as well. And Javetsky had just all of his runs looked really good. Like he just looked like he knew what he was doing. Looks a lot bigger. Put on some muscle.
He just looks more natural running the ball than he did a year ago.
Nakia took a knock. They said it wasn't serious. They said, it was already, they were up by 35 and they knew they were going to win, so they didn't want to play him. So hopefully he's not significantly hurt. Interesting that Jalen Jenkins only got 2 carries.
Yeah, he was, as they kept saying on the radio broadcast, he also got kind of banged up. So again, don't know the extent of it, but I'm guessing that it's sort of a similar deal to Watson, that it was just like, we got this game well in hand, let's just be smart about it. Maybe they're banged up a little, like obviously something happened. Had it been a close game, could they have come back in? It seems like probably. Probably both of those guys could have come
I will
back.
say one funny thing. Obviously, Lincoln Victor had another spectacular game. doing all sorts
Yeah.
of things. Threw for a 2-point conversion. They actually converted that off of the
Yep.
swinging gate.
Yep.
They were putting some shit on tape this game for sure.
Yes.
They ran this RPO screen that I'm sure they're just wanting teams to look at, and then they're hoping to pop a longer one out of that at some point.
Yep.
They're hoping, they want teams to worry about that swinging gate. So yeah, they definitely were, they were fucking around with some things in this game. But one thing that was funny to me is, we had Chasnow was the play-by-play for Pac-12 Network.
Yes.
And I don't think that they provided him with a spotter.
It certainly seemed
because
like it.
there was a couple times when he just straight up miscalled some things. And I don't blame an announcer when they do that. Like, it's if you have to figure out who the players are, like watch it on TV or watch it on a screen or watching it from above. So actually, Victor carried the ball out of the backfield once. It's not in the stats because there was a penalty and it came back. So he carried the ball and Chasnow called him Jenkins and kept calling him Jenkins and never came off of that. Never corrected himself. I don't think he ever. I mean, they are 5 and 6, and their build is very similar. So I do not blame him from those numbers are hard. The 5 and the 6.
Yes, they are
on these number schemes.
Yep,
look so similar.
They look
I do not blame him, but it was making me laugh because I'm like, I know all these kids so fucking well. To him of all people, to mess it up is pretty funny.
Yep.
That's why he had to. There was no way he had a spotter. Come on, Pac-12, get your play-by-play as a spotter.
Yeah, it's it was just, if we're talking about that sort of the worst of the day, it's a pretty good day, right? Mm-hmm. It's a pretty good day if that's the worst of it.
Yeah, the worst of the day is a bunch of defensive players that are very unlikely to see the field the rest of the year.
Yes,
did not play well.
Which, by the way, is a great reason to be excited for what happened. I think fans. I'm not sure most fans understand what it takes to be a Division I athlete and what it takes to be committed to that. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of commitment, and it is not always rewarded, especially if you're a younger guy or a walk-on or whatever. There's a reason why I think fans are somewhat familiar with this idea, but teams tend to churn walk-ons pretty good. Walk-ons will show up, they'll play for a year or two, and then they're just like, okay, I'm done with this, and then they stop. And it's because it's so hard. It's a lot. They ask a lot of those guys. Those guys have to give and give and give and give and give, and they don't get a lot back. And so to have a game like this where, we joked about the drop 70 and whatever, and we would love to see that. But if we're being honestly serious about it, all of these guys who work their asses off getting into a real game, and I'm sure they won't for the remainder of the year. So the opportunity to get all of these guys in who are not going to see any action, and the rest of the year probably, to get them in and let them play. And I mean, it's good for their development, but just from a reward perspective, man, you got this big ass roster of 100 and whatever guys between the scholarship guys and the walk-ons. I haven't looked at the participation report, but I'm guessing it had to be north of 80. It was sort of like, if you were healthy, I think you played in this game, unless you were, even the redshirting guys probably played because, they're probably not getting into another game. So, these guys got to play, they got to see action. It wasn't, it just that's a really good reward for those guys. And I'm glad they were able to do it. I'm glad they were able to experience it. Because a lot of those guys are guys who might not otherwise ever see the field. So I think that's great.
You have 3 different quarterback story passes, 5 different running backs you're running the ball. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 wide receivers that got a target or were in the game at some point.
Yeah.
That's that's great. You know, like
Yep.
it and wait, I think 10 or 1, 2, 3, 12 different players caught a pass, you know, with the running backs. You had Cameron Johnson. They got to get him into the game. Got to get, you know, they ran some plays specifically for him, and he looked good. Like he looked like a guy they could use at another point. Like you know, he's transferred. I think is it from Navy that he's from?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Another tight end, and because we're so deep at tight end at this point. You know, there's so many guys everywhere.
Tight end
Army,
you
sorry, he's
over
from
here.
Army. So I was he's transfer from Army. My bad.
Yeah.
That's,
Oh boy,
that's
boy, don't let him
bad
find out that you
mistake
said
to make.
that.
Yeah.
Mea culpa, mea culpa.
Mea culpa, yeah. Oh man, but yeah, like it was. Yeah, I mean that game. Yeah, we would have loved to see 70-0 or whatever, but it went about as good as you could get, and yeah, like it obviously the casual fan has no idea how bad Northern Colorado is, and they see 64-21, and they're like, "Holy shit!" Like 64 points. What the hell?
If we had left our starters in, that truly could have been like 90-0. Like,
yeah,
that's not an exaggeration. It was so lopsided. So good for them. Good for that. And I think it sets us up, you know, really well, or at least as well as we can heading into Oregon State, because, you know, you have this extreme emotional high of, you know, playing Wisconsin. You're totally jacked up for that game. Of course, you win the game. You know, fans storm the field, and there's all these great pictures of the team, you know, hanging out with fans, whatever. You come back the following week. You know, the crowd, of course, is not, you know, is fractional of what it was, you know, the week before. I mean, you didn't go, right? Which should tell you a little bit about, you know, how you know, how many people maybe didn't go for the 3 weekends in a row. And you know, so you play a terrible team. You look pretty good doing it, right? So like, I think that says something about their mentality. You know, this would have been, you know, a game that potentially they could have, you know, sleepwalked through and still won. But they clearly were not sleepwalking. They clearly were motivated. And I think this comes back to Jake Dickert. Like we have talked, you know, repeatedly on this show about how impressed we are with him and just like how good of a coach he is. And, you know, I for one, when he was hired, was sort of like underwhelmed by that. That's pretty well documented that I was like, I'm sure there's something in the Cougs Center archives where I was like, you know, can't we do better than this? You know, but, you know, Pat Chen again, listened to that interview this morning, you know, Canzano and Wilder asked him about, you know, his coaching hires and about Dickert. And, you know, he kind of just talked about like, hey, when he took over as the interim guy, it was just clear that he was special. Like it was just clear that he was made for this and that he was the guy, you know, so we went ahead and did that. We put a lot of faith in him, and he has, you know, absolutely 100%, you know, paid that back in every way possible since then, you know. And so like games like Wisconsin are great. When I think about like how I'm evaluating a coach, like games like Wisconsin are obviously amazing, but it doesn't take a lot of like coach motivation, you know, to get your team up for that game. But a game like this, you know, it's tough. And social media,
they were goddamn a machine. They were a fucking machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like not just like, oh, we just sort of overwhelmed them with our athleticism. This was like, no. We're here to annihilate, you know, again, on the revenge tour. Right. And, you know, the social media team at Wazoo, first of all, side note, social media team doing an unbelievable, crazy ass job. Like they are making these like what amount to little mini documentaries that they're putting on Twitter. And, you know, 5 years ago, the social media team, the digital media team, the stuff they were doing, we were sort of like, you know, can we do a little better?
Just like this? Really random, weird, like graphics with Nike logos inserted in them weirdly, like,
you know. But now the team that they have now is like absurdly good. Like they are meeting essentially they are meeting this moment, right? Where it's, Cougs versus everybody. And man, they are leaning so hard into that. And I just remember a video, they're making like multiple videos a week, but one of the ones they made last week was this basically like, it was sort of footage from practice, and it had this, voiceover of Jake Dickert basically saying like, hey, all right, you ate, are you full or are you still hungry? Because I'm still hungry.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this fucking guy, like I would run through a wall for this fucker. Like, are you serious right now? Like, I don't know. It's obviously some of it is just, the way they build the videos and, just like makes you all excited. And that's sort of the point. But the guy is clearly a very good coach. And games like this make me think like this guy is a really good coach. Because if you can convince your team after a game like that to come out and be focused enough to do what they did in the first half. I don't even care who the opponent is. Might as well be Pullman High School. But like to be that focused and to do what they did in the first half, to me that says so much about him as a coach and what he's done with the team. Okay, now you can talk. Sorry.
Yeah, I always think like you think of coaches. What worry I've had about Dickert is like, is he going to be that like PJ Fleck type?
Yes.
Who like really makes it all about himself? Like, the row the boat shit that he just like carried through different schools and he just like, it's really like his thing. But like Dickert really seems to embrace it. He showed it to us with his initial hire of his offensive coordinator and Eric Morris. And then what he's continued with Arbuckle is that he is embracing what the existing culture was at Wazoo, and he is building that into his ethos. Like he's not saying, no, I'm going to make this a Dickert program. He's like, this is Wazoo had a program already. Mike Leach had a program before me. Like Wazoo has decades of history as a certain type of offensive team and a certain type of school, and he's embraced that, and he's inserted his own sort of like like the shit like you said, like he's just he seems very detail oriented. He seems very which is funny because we had this great coach for 8 years that was very detail oriented in some ways and it's not in other ways. Like, for 8 years, it was just like, oh yeah, when it comes to running a route, like it's every detail. But when it comes to anything else, like we're just like, what the fuck's going on? But now this coach is like thinking about a lot of stuff, and he's also trusting his assistants to do great things. Like he seems like a guy that is a legitimately good FBS football coach, and we kind of stumbled into him when we were excited. When he was hired as defensive coordinator, it was a good hire. We thought it was a good hire. Like he had good defenses at Wyoming, but he
was pretty inexperienced at that point, though. Like it was. I think it was 2 years in for like a year or two.
But we saw like he had it was a very clear impact. So it was it was a good and the style of defense that he plays, it's very fitting with WSU. Very aggressive and also it was very fitting with the conference and 5 defensive backs and all that. But so we we thought this is a fine hire, and then I don't think any of us thought he was going to be a head coach at Wazoo anytime soon. But you know what? He is, and he's got a winning record so far, which a lot of coaches at Wazoo do not have. Like
the list is pretty short. It's pretty short. It's like Mike Price and Mike Leach and
Warren Powers, because he was like one season,
year, right? And probably like Babe Hollingberry, right? Like
also we got to point out Jesse Casino in the Slack pointed this out. WSU is one game under 500 all time.
Yes.
So
I know.
if you
Paul
want to,
Wolf put us in a hell of a hole, man.
yeah. With a lot of he also put us in the hole with a lot of head-to-head series.
Yes, a lot of series.
Like Oregon just got.
Yes.
We'll probably. I mean, we're never going to make it up now. But it's like
no.
It's so frustrating.
God damn.
Like because when I was a freshman at Wazoo, I'm pretty sure we were like even dead heat. And
it was probably close, something like that. Yeah.
But we still got
most of
Oregon
Oregon's
State.
history. They were us, and we were them.
They were us.
So
and then Phil Knight took an interest.
Yeah. God damn it. By the way, here's something that you, I'm sure, would never thought you would hear me say, but with respect to Jake Dickert, God bless Nick Rolovich. God bless Nick Rolovich, because he hired him, right? Like, so I was, by the way, I was thinking about this week. I was thinking about a lot of things over the weekend, but I was thinking about like the fact that Nick Rolovich hired Jake Dickert. And then I was thinking about like, okay, because normally, like guys hire guys who have connections to them in some way, right? But in this case, Rolovich seemed to do what actually some offensive-minded coaches do, which is they kind of go, okay, who's the guy who is a pain in my ass? That's who I want to hire, right? And so it seems like that's kind of what Rolovich did, right? He hires Dickert away from Wyoming. Wyoming was a pain in his ass with the run and shoot. That's the guy who I want. I mean, that's how Mike Leach got hired at Oklahoma. Just the opposite, right?
Right.
Like Bob Stoops is like what kind of offense is a total pain in my ass? It's that one. I'm going to hire Mike Leach to be my offensive coordinator, right? Okay. So he hires Jake Dickert. And I'm sitting here this week and I'm thinking like, God, I can't even imagine what those like coaching staff meetings must have been like with these two guys, right? So like, and I'm even talking like before all the COVID shit. Like I'm talking about like just, and granted, there wasn't very much time before the COVID shit, but it's like, I'm just like thinking like, oh my God, like what we know now about these two guys, right? When Jake Dickert got hired, we went, oh, okay, that's cool, right? And now it's like, okay, we know a lot about Rolovich and we know a lot about Dickert, and I'm just thinking, fuck, man, like how did these two exist like in a room together? You know, like they're just so different.
Well,
and then the COVID stuff happened.
The savviness of Dickert very early on to be like, I got vaccinated. He posted it on social media. Like, I got vaccinated.
Oh yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
He knew what the game was there. Like he knew what the game was.
Yes, he did. He is a smart man. He knew what was happening for sure. I got the jab. Okay, let's go. You know, I don't know, man. I just like my brain just started thinking about like these staff meetings where Rolovich is sitting, you know, around, they're all sitting around a table or something, and Rolovich is leading a staff meeting. I'm just thinking about what must have been going through Dickert's head during that time, just kind of thinking about, oh my God, right? Like, and I'm sure he was nice about it because he's got that Midwestern, you know, sense, those Midwestern sensibilities, right? But you know, I can just imagine like this just sort of unspoken, you know, tension. And then particularly as, you know, COVID started to take over, and, you know, Dickert's very clearly like, yo, I got the jab. And Rolovich is like, yo, that shit will allow people to track you for the rest of your life. Like, I can just imagine like how this, you know, just the tension in these rooms. Maybe there weren't any rooms. Maybe they just didn't ever get together in the same room. Maybe they just like not. Passed each other in the hallway and just went, hey, Nick. Hey, Jake. And that was it. I don't know, man. But I don't know. That was just a random thought I had this week.
So I forgot to mention, I forgot to say it last week. And since we're talking about Dickert, you know, and plus we can live off the vibes of this sweep of Wisconsin forever. But
yes,
it's just wild to think how the path that got us to a coach from Wisconsin coaching Wazoo and beating Wisconsin 2 years
Yes.
in a row.
Yes.
Like these games were supposed to happen in 2014 and 2015. Leach was getting the program growing. Wisconsin would have fucking rolled us. Like those were two of their best teams in the last like 30 years.
Yeah.
And they would have in 2014, absolutely they would have rolled us. 2015, it took Wazoo a little while to get going. But you know, they were good that year eventually. As you may remember, they lost to Portland State to start the season.
I know you remember that game.
I know I do. I was very wet.
You were very wet with your father in the rain.
Yep. But yeah, like, and then these games get delayed, and we have this very Wisconsin dude like coaching us with his whole family from Wisconsin who usually roots for the Badgers coming to the games with Coug gear on. And he beats him 2 years in a row. Like, how wild is that? Like,
well, last year they're like, oh, we're firing the coach. That's what, and then they go hire Luke Fickell and beat him again. Hell yeah.
Yeah, well, let's move on to the Pac-2 championship game.
Okay.
Then we'll talk about beer. Do you want to talk about beer first? And then we'll.
don't care.
They have to listen to us talk about beer. Fine, let's talk about beer. Then we'll talk about the Pac-2 championship game.
Okay.
All right. So Jeff, what are you drinking?
As I talked about last week, I picked up a bunch of beers at the Moscow Co-op. This one is the Revision Dr. Lupulin, which is the diabolical 3 times India Pale Ale. And let me tell you, this is definitely a triple IPA. Like, this is maybe the most triple IPA I've ever drank. So on the back, it says 3X IPA, alcohol by volume 11.3%. And then it says, and this is the part that I'm like, yes, this is true. It says IBUs confidential. And I'm like, yeah, my first sip was like, holy God, this is bitter. Like, I was like, holy shit. It was like a bitter, like, wave over my tongue. And so this might be like the ultimate, like, palate wrecker in terms of something that I've drank.
There was a beer. I don't know if it's still made because I don't know if anyone makes the Green Flash brand anymore. That was a triple IPA.
I do remember Green Flash.
Circa 2010 ish. They had a beer called Palate Wrecker, which was like those were the bitter. That's when the bitter wars were raging heavy before soft IPAs came along.
Yeah, I do not recall the last time I drank a beer this bitter. Like, it is the first sips were like, holy shit. And now, of course, I've got, 2 ounces left out of the pint. And so I'm like, yeah, whatever. It tastes great. So, my palate is wrecked. I will follow it up with a Bodhi, when it's time. And so we are, we're hanging out down here at the end. If you like, unbelievably bitter beers that have high, alcohol by volume, this would be the one. Revision Dr. Lupulin.
You are really speaking to 2009 Craig right now. That's even all over that.
By the way, this is, in case you were wondering, this is the 2019 gold medal triple IPA category of the U.S. Open something beer championship. U.S. Open Beer Championship. This is the gold medal from the 2019 U.S. Open Beer Championship.
Wow. Impressive.
So 4 years ago, this beer was rad. Just so you know. No, it's good. Like, for what it is, right? Like, it's one of those things. Like, it's, what it is. It's exactly what it is trying to be, and it is a lot. So,
absolutely. So I am also drinking an IPA, not a bitter IPA. There's very low bitterness in this. It's just a clean, crisp, kind of West Coasty, but very soft IPA. It is from Russian River Brewing, which,
Oh yeah.
we're just very excited because we get in Washington again. Happy Hops IPA. Just an adorable little hop guy on the front. Because we're very happy at Wazoo right now. Just
Yes, we
very
are.
happy. But yeah, this is a very delicious. It's a very well balanced, clear, light malt bill, but still balanced. Very nice IPA. It definitely doesn't have the bitterness of Blind Pig or of Pliny. Definitely a little softer, probably a little more modern IPA they were going for. Very tasty. Glad I picked it up. Russian River, obviously. I buy the bottles every time they come in. They kind of have this like once a month cycle. They get dropped off, and I always get the bottles.
Yes.
But I will say one more beer update. WeldWorks responded.
Yes, this is extremely important.
And so they responded me on Instagram, and then connected me with their Kristen, their like head of marketing or something, director of events and experience. Sorry, that kind of makes sense. Experience. So they connected me with Kristen, and we exchanged emails. She said, I'll talk to you after the game." And so this morning I said, "Hey,
just in case Northern Colorado won, and you could be on the square, right?"
Yeah, I sent her an email this morning. I said, "Hi, Washington State won just barely, 64-21." Smiley face.
Smiley face.
And she said, "Well, congrats. If she said, send me your address. I'll get something out to you next week." So we'll see what they send. I'm excited.
Okay.
Are they going to send Media Noche in a 4-pack of Juicy Bits? Are they going to double down? Did they double down? Are they going to be double 2 Media Noches and 2 4-packs of Juicy Bits?
Ooh.
Who knows? Maybe as PJ said, maybe they're just going to send me a keychain and a sticker. Who knows? Like
maybe a koozie. I don't know.
Maybe
You
a
like your
koozie.
koozies.
I love koozies.
your koozies.
I love koozies. So yeah, I'm excited. That finally, after 4 years of bothering them, I've bothered them a lot. I'm glad we played.
Not just bothering them, just like talking mad shit about them.
Yeah. Well, they make
Like,
great beer,
who
which is
else
why I
is on
wanted
a
the
bet?
beer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
So I wanted the beer. Also, their
Yeah.
beer's expensive. Those Media Noche stouts are expensive.
Yeah.
I would love to get one for free. That would be
Hell
great.
yeah. Yes,
So-
I agree.
So if I do, thank you, Wazoo. Thank you, Cougs. And thank you, WeldWorks, for like searching your name 4 years ago. 'Cause I didn't even
Yep.
tag them in that post. They just like found it. Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about this Pac-2 championship game. It's crazy to have such a championship game in September, but here we are.
Here we are.
Both teams undefeated. Oregon State, as expected, ranked number 14. WSU's little surprise, ranked as well, 21. Megan, this is a really big game. Like this is probably one of the biggest WSU Oregon State games ever, to be honest. Or like maybe in 20 plus years.
Yeah.
I'd say, maybe since like 2001, maybe. Or
I was going to say, like 20 plus years ago, Oregon State was pretty horrendous up until Dennis Erickson showed up. So, yeah.
Yeah, and what was the year they beat Notre Dame in the
what was that? 2001?
Yeah, so I'm going to say probably
Something like that.
the 2001 WSU Oregon State game was probably pretty big.
Wait,
if they played,
Hold on. Is this the biggest game since we played Oregon State under Bill Doba and we lost to not go to a bowl game under Alex Brink? This is the biggest games in the rainstorm.
And
that was when you were
in the
school,
rainstorm.
right?
Yes, it was the day before Marty and Corey got married.
Oh, man. Is this the biggest game since that?
Maybe.
Maybe.
No, maybe the biggest game is when Jeff Toole and that 2-win team finally beat I got a Pac-12.
Yes.
Pac-12.
That game was so great. That was the dumbest game I have ever seen in my life. It was that game deserves its own during the offseason. We should file that away. During the offseason, that game deserves its own podcast. We should do, because remember we did these, what did we do? Podcast in 60, right? Like we did these, rewatches of games. That's a game that we should rewatch and do a podcast on, because that game deserves its own podcast.
I broke my head open for that.
Yes,
game.
I remember. Oh my God, I remember that now.
So
I just remember texting constantly with Brian Floyd during that game. And we just were both just like in just like complete shock at what was happening. We were just like, they're going to lose this, right? They're going to, oh, no, wait, maybe they're not going to lose. Okay. Jeff Toole did what? Okay. I think we're going to win. Like, yeah. Oh my God. That was
okay.
The
by the way, update on this 2001 game.
Okay.
Of course, that Beaver team in the 2001 Fiesta Bowl, that was the 2000 Beaver team. And
yes,
of course, WSU
Beavers.
was not good in 2000.
No.
WSU was good in 2001. Oregon
Yes.
State was not good in 2001. Ships passing in the night. They did not have a big game against each other that year.
Okay. There we go.
So yes, this is both teams ranked. I can't imagine in the series history this has happened very often. I don't know.
Okay, so while you're talking, I'm going to try and figure this out.
So yeah, this is one of those things where each team has had periods of success, but they have not typically overlapped. As obviously WSU went on a 8-game winning streak in the series recently, when the Beavers were good in the late 2000s, right after WSU was good, but they were bad for those 3 years. Then WSU got good in the early 2000s, and Oregon State wasn't good. So yeah, they're just I can't imagine very many times that they were ranked at the same time. And this should be a fun one. WSU said limited seats are available. Hopefully that sells out, and we'll just have
means. I think that means scattered singles, basically.
Yeah. And then I assume there'll be a nice contingent of Beaver fans there. There usually is.
You would think so.
Yeah, and especially with their, they have a special team right now, and they're worth after what they've went through for a while. This is a pretty big deal. This is like a dream. Like this is their big season. And they're, but at the same time having all the same shit that we're going through. But yeah, so did you find anything on it?
I did not. I forgot that College Football Reference moved their rivalry search tool. They moved it off into a different thing now that you have to pay for. And I did pay for it. Well, I didn't pay for it. I did like the free trial briefly, but like it's the college football stuff is not good. Like it's mostly pro football stuff. So anyway, bottom line, no, I have not figured this out. I'm looking on WSU's website right now to see, but it doesn't, I don't think it says anything about like the rankings of the teams or anything like that. So
yeah, I was looking at Winsipedia. They don't put the rankings of the teams either.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I would be,
if anyone knows the answer, feel free to.
I would be very surprised if there are any recent matchups where both teams have been ranked. And I mean, I'm just thinking back to like when I was in school, and that's when they were doing the Jerry Pettibone triple option wishbone stuff, and they were horrible. So, I think that you're right. Like the one little moment where they were good under Erickson, maybe Was there maybe some time under like Riley when they were okay that we were also good? I don't know.
Because I
don't think we were ranked a whole lot under Doba as we went through the last few years.
No,
and
we're
that
not.
was Mike Riley. And then obviously the Paul Wolf years, which were also Mike Riley.
And then really there was only a couple years where WSU was actually like ranked consistently in the season under Leach. Like it was like 2017 and 2018.
Yes. Yeah.
And Oregon State
was not good. Yeah.
They were like our homecoming automatic win opponents those years.
By the way, I do want to point out that over the course of 7 years, starting in 2007, we lost to Oregon State 52-17, lost to Oregon State 66-13, lost to Oregon State 42-10, and then somehow won 31-14, the aforementioned Jeff Toole Superman game. And then lost 44-21, 19-6, and 52-24.
Jeff, famously 44-21.
Yes.
That win.
And then we finally in 2014.
That was as we've talked about, that loss was probably the night that Bill Doba went to try to hire Mike Leach. That loss in Seattle.
Yep, that was I was at that game and I just remember
I know, you were so mad.
I was so mad. I was so mad. I was like, we can't do this anymore. This is insane. Like and the Oregon State fans were so happy and good for them, and I was so mad. Just like it was so bad. And so then we go hire Mike Leach, and of course they kick our teeth in for 2 years, and then of course 2014 Luke Falk magic. Right? Luke Falk magic. The end of that game, the score of that game was closer than I remember.
His first start. That was his first start.
Yeah. So 39-32. And then the next
had
year.
A terrible defense that year.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yes, that's true.
2014.
But did start a win streak of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins in a row until last year. Which was
so I do remember that 2015 game, because that was one where it looked like we might drop 70 because we had 49 points at halftime and then scored 3 in the second half.
Yes. Finished with 52.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drop 70 is so elusive.
But we have put up 50 plus points on Oregon State 1, 2, 3, 4 times in that win streak. We put up 50 plus points under Mike Leach in that win streak. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. Pretty good. So, but this Oregon State defense, however, be much more difficult to do that.
Yeah, a little different.
So yeah, let's get into this game. It's interesting because Oregon State profiles offensively like pretty similarly in approach to Wisconsin. They want to run the ball. They run the ball more than most teams,
and more effective,
and more effectively than most teams. They're very successful with run, but what WSU has shown is that they've been really successful defending the run this year. They shut it down against Wisconsin, and kind of made them adapt mid-game, and that's going to be a huge thing. Can WSU replicate that run defense that they had against Wisconsin against Oregon State? And honestly, I don't see any reason why they couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, as we talked about before Wisconsin, when this team can set their mind to stopping the run, they really can do it. And what I'd love to hear your thoughts on is, they did run into some trouble with Wisconsin in the passing game, which nearly caused them to blow a large second half lead. What do you see does Oregon State also have that ability to do that if we are shutting down the run?
I don't think so. I mean, so Uh, obviously the big development for Oregon State in the offseason was landing a transfer from former Clemson quarterback, DJ Uyunglele. I think I'm so
Good
sorry
effort.
I'm so sorry for blowing that. I'm really not trying to be funny at all right now. I'm really bad at pronouncing names, and I have to apologize to my students constantly for screwing up their names. Uyunglele, I think is how it's pronounced.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I think so. I think I got that right. So, like the big thing when he was at Clemson was, big arm, but really inconsistent and not super accurate all the time. And, look, I'm not going to pretend that I've watched Oregon State super closely, that I've watched them play all their games. And so I'm super, knowledgeable about Oregon State. But I will say I watched the vast majority of last weekend's game against San Diego State, and DJ looks like the same guy to me. Big arm, can make some really big throws, can run, can move. He's huge. Like there's all the tools that had Clemson and whoever else drooling over him. Those things are all there, but it's like, man, the consistency is just not great. He will make throws that are just not even close, And if they are, the thing with Oregon State, they have really sort of sold everybody on the idea that they have upgraded a whole bunch at quarterback. And I do think they've upgraded, but that's, I think, largely because
that was so bad.
Yeah, like the bar was so low, right? And I'm not saying Uyunglele is terrible. He's not terrible. He's not at all terrible. He's definitely an upgrade over what Oregon State had last year. But he is also a very limited quarterback. Like he is just not going to carry a team, 40 plus attempts. Like he's just not that guy.
Yeah, he's 23 attempts a game right now.
Yeah, like he's just not that guy. And so, and look, Oregon State is not built for him to have to be that guy. They are built to run the ball, move the ball, sort of pound teams into submission. We looked awful good against Wisconsin early. I feel very confident in saying that the quarterback we faced against Wisconsin is better than the quarterback we're facing this weekend. Now, maybe he'll prove me wrong. Maybe he'll make a bunch of big throws, whatever. But I tend to think that, like, okay, if he came out in this game and he made a bunch of big throws and torched us, that would probably be more of a product of randomness than anything else. Like, I just think that's just kind of who he is. That he is wildly inaccurate, throws the ball too hard a lot. It's just, you just can't really count on him to be a consistent passer. If he somehow comes out and hits a bunch of big throws against us, I mean, it's just one of those things you tip your cap, right? So the emphasis in this game is going to be very similar to what it was against Wisconsin. It's going to be run first, run second, run third, stopping that, and then daring the quarterback to really beat you. Wisconsin was able to adjust some things to really, unlock the passing game. I'm not convinced that Oregon State can do that if we are able to play from out in front and we are able to defensively put Oregon State into, second and long, third and long over and over again.
And that's huge. It's huge because Oregon State has been very good. And now the caveat is they have not played a particularly difficult schedule.
Yep.
But they have been very good against those teams. In getting getting chunks in the run game on first and second down, and not even getting to third down.
Yep.
So they're not having to put their quarterback in a position to make plays on third down. I think they're number one according to Stats War on Twitter. They're number one in the country in getting the percentage of first downs that come on first and second down, which is some like 85% of their first down. So they are looking to get first downs on first and second down. So getting those stuffs, those run stuffs, those lost plays are so big for this defense, for WSU, to stopping Oregon State's offense.
Yep.
To put them in there, make them uncomfortable. Because I'm confident in saying WSU is definitely the best defense they've seen all year. They are definitely a very good running team. They're very good. I don't know if they're better than Wisconsin, but Wisconsin has really good running backs. But Oregon State may have a better overall running team, like maybe a better overall running team. They're probably pretty close.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to say they're pretty close. So it's a similar test. And that's actually a bonus for WSU to have played a team that is stylistically so similar 2 weeks before.
Yep.
That's very helpful.
I agree.
Now, if we flip it to when WSU has the ball, Oregon State has not that. If you look at their success rate numbers, not very good against the pass. However, they don't seem to give up big plays in the pass very often. So if WSU is going to move the ball, I would expect it to be some shorter passes, probably going to need some third downs, conversions, and they're probably going to be some long drives.
Yep.
So given that Oregon State's going to run the ball, this is probably a pretty short game. But yeah, so the key for WSU is the key for Cam is what he's been doing all year is taking and with an air raid style offense. This isn't like a pure air raid, but it's raw concepts. Is taking the open receiver and taking what the defense is giving you, and then hoping for some yak. And so far, these receivers have shown a lot of ability to get yards after the catch. Victor's very good at that. Yeah. Kelly seems to be real quick and real tough to defend. So if they could do that, that's going to be key, because I think it's going to be a lot of short passes. Probably going to need the running backs and the tight ends to step up a bit in the passing game, because we're not going to run the ball well. We're not going to. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So we're going to need Cam to be less maybe not as efficient, but effective in the short game, and we're going to need to break some tackles. Yeah. And so that's going to be the onus on WSU. And that's largely what they had to do against Wisconsin as well, which it was no spectacular offensive performance. What was the difference in Wisconsin? Turnovers and red zone efficiency. Yep. Score. I would say more scoring opportunity efficiency. I like to do scoring opportunities better than red zone. Once you get inside the 40. So WSU is gonna have to convert those to touchdowns and prevent Oregon State from scoring touchdowns. That's just to be so key. Oregon State's QB has thrown 2 picks so far this year, so maybe there's an opportunity there to take the ball away. Takeaways would be fucking huge. If you can do it, if you can replicate what they did against Wisconsin, or even a couple takeaways, and if WSU could take care of the ball, if Cam could continue to be careful with the ball, but also be effective. This is going to be a tight game. This is pretty, especially with WSU at home, creates a very evenly matched game.
Yep.
So it's going to be just those things, and WSU can flip the advantage to themselves if they can stop Oregon State in the run game on first and second down, and I think that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
And creating lost plays, creating stuffs.
Yeah.
That's what I'll be looking for early on for sure.
Yeah. I think success rate, we've talked about success rate in years past on the podcast. I think sometimes it's maybe overrated just a little bit, just in the sense that you can have a successful play without having a really good play necessarily, right?
So if you get 5 yards on first down, that
Yes.
counts as a successful play.
Right.
And then if you then get, I believe, 4 yards on second down, that like if you get it to a third and short, that's a successful play. Anything on third and fourth down that converts counts as a successful play.
Right.
Anything that doesn't is unsuccessful.
Exactly.
So there's no element of explosiveness, and we know that explosiveness is so important to
Yes.
consistently good offense. You can't expect, well, some Leach offenses accept it, like they just had some amazing like with that. But when Leach offenses were actually really good is when they were getting big plays, and so that's it. It's why rating systems like SP Plus didn't like Leach's offenses a lot because they wouldn't get as many big plays. They're taking these small passes, but we know like if you want to be consistently good, you have to be able to create big plays because it's so hard to just grind out third downs over and over and over again and be perfect on third down over and over. So you have to get first downs on first down, first downs on second down, chunks of 20, 30, 40 yards. Like those are important. That's going to be hard against Oregon State.
Yeah. And as the saying goes, right? Like the best third down offense is just like making a first down on second down. Just never get to third down. I think that in this case, like I kind of think that success rate is going to be important. Oregon State has sort of feasted on explosive plays in the running game in their first few games. And, maybe they just really are that good. But I tend to think that it's something in between. They're really that good and the teams they've played are what they are, right? And so from WSU's perspective, I think that like that success rate really is going to be important because if you can hold back the success, continually put them, to use the term behind the chains, right? Then you put the game in Uiagalele's hands. You force him to beat you, and while he can make throws, again, if you're forcing him to beat you, I really, really, really like our chances. Like I just don't think he's that guy. So it is going to be key. Can you? Keep when they run it on first down, can you keep them to a 3-yard gain instead of a 5 or 6 yard gain? On second down, second and 6 or 5, like can you keep them to a 2-yard gain instead of a 4-yard gain so that it's, 3rd and 5 instead of 2nd and 2 or 3rd and 2? Like, can you do those kinds of things? If you can do that, I think you've got a pretty decent chance here. They're really good. Jonathan Smith's a really good coach. They are really they scheme up things really, really well. I just think that, like us, honestly, there are going to be holes. Like they're not going to be a perfect team. And I think that it's pretty clear where you'd like to put them in order to have them be in situations where they're, a lot more likely to be less successful.
Absolutely. So let's get to score predictions. It's been again we're on a run with me predicting first, so I'll keep that going. So the line is 3.
Yes.
It opened at 2, so money has been coming in on the Beavs. Over under 56.5, which is a lot of points considering.
Yeah, seems high.
For the limited possessions that I think this game will have.
Exactly what I'm thinking. Yep.
Yeah, just with the fact that Oregon State's be running the ball, they're going to be giving us 3, 4, 5 yard gains a lot. I think both teams will have some long drives. So that's a lot. You know what? It's worked out really well for me to pick us not to cover. This one, so if we don't cover, we lose, or we don't. If we don't,
I mean, not
we
necessarily, but pretty close.
Well, yeah. No, if we, you're right. But if we, I meant to say if we win, we cover.
There you go.
So it's hard for me to pick us to win because I've just had such a good stretch of not picking us to win. or not picking us to cover. So
Yep.
I'm just going to keep that rolling. And I'm going to go Oregon State. I think I'm just go Oregon State 27, WSU 20.
Oh, dear God. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and keep rolling the way I've been rolling. I'm going to say Wazoo wins. I think it's a close game. I think it's low scoring. Like we said, I think this is really a coin flip kind of game. I think these are two very evenly matched teams. I think these are two incredibly motivated teams. But I think home field advantage makes the difference. Like Pullman is sold out or very close to it. And even if it's not technically a sellout, it's going to be a sellout vibe. Like it's like if there are seats, they're going to be scattered singles. The place is going to be packed. People are going to be hyped. I think that the home field advantage makes a difference. I'm going to go with 27-24 Cougs. 27-24.
27-24 Cougs. And you know what to do if and when the Cougs win.
When Cougs win and Craig
when the Cougs win
gets it wrong.
You send me them idiot gifts.
You're going to send him the GIF.
You send me those and I'll be drunk
What
as a
an
skunk in the Coug watching those come in.
Celebrate.
But on a side note, like this is going to be a weird, because I have a feeling there's going to be a few thousand Oregon State fans around.
Yes.
And it's gonna be a weird vibe. Like I just want to give them a hug.
Yes.
You know, like or just like be like, hey, like, you know, just like give each other this look, like, yeah, we're going through it. We're going through it together.
Yep.
And you know, we're suing everyone together.
That's right.
And we're getting it's WSU and Oregon State. Constantly always said the two teams left. The Pac-2.
Yep.
So yeah, but I you know, what's the ball is kicked, like we're just we're not going to give a fuck anymore about that.
Yes.
Because this is the conference title game, and it's a big game. It's, you know, on national television. We are up against some other big games, but it is on national television over the air. On Fox.
When we played Wisconsin, we were up against Alabama, Texas, and did quite well. So I think we'll be okay on that one.
We'll be all right. All right. Cougs and Beavs. It almost kind of sucks that we have to play each other this year. Honestly,
yes, it does.
I wish we could just both be undefeated in the Pac-12 championship game or something. You know, like the action. You know, in Vegas, and then like just both go into the playoff or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, we got to play each other because, you know, maybe to the death of the Pac-12 is that every team plays each other. You know, they play 9 conference games, and then every team in the division plays each other, whatever. Although there's no divisions anymore.
I was gonna say there is still a chance that we could meet in the Pac-12 championship. It is possible.
There is.
It is possible.
There is. You know, maybe it will happen. And
maybe.
But yeah, so it'll be interesting if and when I interact with some Oregon State fans this weekend. That should be interesting. But yeah, go out and beat the living hell out of them. You know what? That's what they're thinking on the other side too. Like we want to be the superior. We want to be the top of the bottom heap here. But yeah, and then we could resume our revenge tour after this week. But yeah, before we wrap up here, let's talk about the soccer team. They played one game this week. They hosted Seattle and beat them 2-1. That was their last non-conference game. So they got through non-conference with just a 1 loss, which is an improvement over last year.
Woo.
And then and no ties, just straight up. What is it? 7-1, 7-1 record. And then, but the challenge is upgraded on Friday night. And again, everyone, if you're in Pullman, go to the soccer match on Friday night against Stanford. I believe Stanford is number 2 in at least one of the polls. So it is a very tough test. Could be, if they win, it would be a massive win. It's Flashback Friday, whatever that means. Too bad we missed Swifties at the pitch for the Seattle game. I know, but yeah, we should. I know Em and I should make it into town in time for first kick there. Should be very exciting. We've seen the crowd has shown out there before, and I expect them to on Friday.
Yep.
Should be fun. But yeah, like Stanford's going to be tough. They're really good.
Yep.
7-0. We're gonna have to. You're gonna have to score. You can't just create chances. You got to finish to beat Stanford. It's Yep. But yeah, they're still Wazoo Soccer ranked 24. So every team we've talked about on this podcast today is ranked, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about soccer? Did you catch the Seattle game or any thoughts on that? It was a little bit hairy at the end, but they pulled it out.
Seems like they've kind of lost a little bit of the momentum that we talked about, with the offense and a lot of that clinical finishing that looked so good early in the year maybe is taking a bit of a step backwards. So hopefully they can recapture a bit of that against Stanford. It'd be a huge win, right? Like it's kind of, it's what we talked about. Like you want to be able to go toe to toe with the big ones. This is that. And then, of course, the next week. Now, one of the things we talked about was they're in the midst of an insane homestand. They have played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 home games in a row, and they've got 3 more home games before they head back out on the road. But it is Stanford, USC, UCLA, which are very typically 3 of the top programs in the conference every year. So, yes, you got them all at home, but they're also all generally very good. I haven't looked too closely at what they're doing this year, but they typically are all very strong. So big stretch here, and even if they're not maybe as good as they have been, they're always loaded with athletes. So yeah, this is a big stretch. Started off with a win against Stanford, and we'll be feeling pretty great.
Yeah. That would get the vibes going.
Yes,
for the weekend. Let's get that volleyball win over UW on Thursday. Followed up with a good showing against Stanford and an upset victory over Stanford on Friday to lead us into Saturday. Jeff. That's. I guess this is where we plug. If you want to find us on the socials, I'm at the Craig Powers on Twitter, of course. Craig Powers at whatever the fuck the Blue Sky is. I haven't sent a message on Blue Sky in a bit. Gotta get back on that.
Me too.
Jeff, I think it's News Coug on there.
Yep.
And then Pod versus Everyone on Twitter. Most important thing though is the Substack, right, Jeff?
Yes.
What is
podcast,
the name of it again?
Podcast.
Yeah, it's the full spelled out.
Yeah. .substack.com.
Yeah,
that's where you get the episodes. As soon as they're ready to go, they get sent to your email.
And someday maybe we'll write things.
No, you
again. Or, no, I won't, but maybe you will.
You won't, but I probably will at some point.
Yep. So do all that. Send us an email if you want. I don't know. I don't think anyone did this week. Maybe you can tell us the total history of the ranked matchups of WSU and Oregon State. Both teams are ranked.
Someone who's got more time than you and I.
Yeah. So I guess with all that, I'll just say go fucking Cougs.
Go fucking Cougs, Craig. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
You can still get vaccinated.
You still can. And vaccinate your dogs, of course.
And find a union. Or support one.
Support one.